Today's topic is Millennials in the New World of Work. And joining me is Prue Mohoto. Prue Mohoto is an experienced human resources professional with a demonstrated history of working across many industries like mining, retail, and higher education. She is skilled in HR consulting, coaching, remuneration, HR, and talent management. Her primary passion has always been uh, talent management, and she is currently a director of talent management and organizational development. But she describes herself as an architect of possibilities. We welcome you, Prue, and thank you for joining me in this exciting talk about millennials in the workplace.
Thank you very much, Wilmy, for inviting me to speak about a topic that is particularly close to my heart, something that I'm passionate about. Being a millennial myself, I look forward to our engagement this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you, Prue, and welcome. The purpose of this interview is to create an awareness on millennials in the new world of work and in the fourth industrial revolution. So my first question to you, Prue, is what can you expect from a millennial when they enter the workplace, and what are they like?
Wilmy, in order to answer that question, I would need to set the context for you. So now you'll understand that you have two groups of millennials. You get those that are about to turn 30 and those who are about to turn 40. So in our interaction today, I think we need to constantly be aware of the two different groups within the millennial sphere. So what you can expect, I'm a millennial myself. I have other millennials reporting into me and they have millennials reporting into them. So my team is really about 80 to 85% millennials. So I don't have to draw too deep for this question. So the expectation of millennials really is to be included, to co-create. They want to be involved. They want to ensure that they can help in the decision making. They also want to be treated as equal. So the hierarchical structure needs to be as flat as possible for them. But they also want rapid and decisive decision making. As a manager of millennials, what you need to understand your role to be is that you need to facilitate the work, you need to facilitate the process instead of managing the people. These people are able to manage themselves. You can expect robust conversations and engagements inside and outside of meetings, because the key question for millennials is really, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing this differently? And my favorite one, isn't there an app that can do this better? What you need to keep in mind as well is that they will question you. They will question the boundaries. They will test. But this is more in effort to be able to bring clarity to processes. So you can expect that by them asking why, there will be process clarification, there will be process purification, there will be process improvement. Because for millennials, really, they're not rule following, especially if the rules are not well thought through. So you need to equip yourself with everything that you have to be able to answer, why are we doing this way?
Thank you for that insightful answer, Prue. And I must say I can really relate to the group that's almost turning 13. I'm also one of those people who really ask a lot, why? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do it like this? So thank you for that insightful answer.
Yeah, what I'd like to add, Vilmi, is that where you get two millennials that are reporting to each other, you can have one of two reactions. It's either they'll create magic together if there are shared values, or there'll be so much dissonance and it'll almost be like World War IV has erupted. So it's important to ensure that there's chemistry even within this landscape.
Okay. I think that's a good tip to remember. My next question is, what is millennials' main priorities and goals in the workplace?
I will answer that question from my own philosophy. My philosophy is that I want to pay my way to a better world by finding my platform, by finding my purpose and creating a platform for others to find their own. When you think of millennials, these are people that really value teamwork, collaboration, and they value a higher self. So you need to tap into their space of theirs. You need to tap into their self-consciousness. You need to tap into their sense of social consciousness as well. How you do this is you provide a platform for them to, one, do meaningful work, something that is close to their heart, something that is tied to their values, that is linked to their why again. You want to answer for them, why are you here? And why is it important to have you in my team? It's also really about understanding that long term, there are two things, and these are two broad constructs. It's long-term financial freedom and flexibility that are top priority for millennials. And when you look at these things, when you interrogate them closely, you will understand that it's really about them having sufficient time to be able to do the things that they like doing, where they give back into society. It is, as I said, it's about tapping into their higher self. It's about linking their deliverable to what they value most.
Okay, thank you, Prue. I'm
Mm.
also busy with, and I've read a lot about the higher self and the
Yeah,
meditation that goes with that. So
yeah.
that's very interesting to hear.
Mm. Mm.
Prue, next I want to ask you, do you believe that millennials will easier transition into the new world of work? And what skills do they have that will assist them with this transition?
Vilmi, imagine waking up on a Monday morning to the news that the president has announced a state of disaster because of a certain pandemic. And the world as we know it has changed. What we tend to do as professionals in the HR space, we look for the policy, we look for the procedure, and we look for the protocols, only to find out that there is none. Even organizations that were ready or prepared for this COVID-19 pandemic have been found to be ill prepared. We must really stop speaking of the world of work or the new world of work as a construct that is out there. We must stop speaking about it as 2030, what is going to happen in 10 years' time. Because what this pandemic has showed us is that we do not have the capacity to conclusively predict what is going to happen in 10 years' time. So our long-term plans really have to move from 3 to 5 years to about 12 months at most, because things are changing at the speed of light. When I read the report, the PwC report on the future of work in terms of the different worlds, they speak about the red world, the yellow world, the green world, and the blue world. What I believe as a millennial, I would appreciate is somewhere in the middle there. It's that sweet spot where you draw from the different worlds that they have painted and say, let's call it the gray world. Really, where you live with ambiguity, where you are comfortable with ambiguity. You're able to thrive in uncertainty, because what we as human beings do is that when we are in uncertainty, we try to create structure. We try to box it. And as a friend of mine says, that all structure is inherently unstable. So those who are going to have an easier transitions, whether they're millennials or not, are those who are able to be agile. They are able to adapt. They're able to live in the gray. Those are the people who are going to actually thrive.
Okay, thank you, Prue. They say the only constant is change, and
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of companies was looking for the procedures and protocols, and as you said, that's what we as professionals do, and it wasn't in place because
Yeah,
the world is changing so incredibly fast, like you said.
yeah,
Um, thank you for that
yeah.
insightful answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Vilmi, we need to learn this not only as a professional skill, but as a human skill. If we want to find ourselves in a place where we are relevant, where we haven't been replaced, where our skill hasn't been replaced by automation, is to constantly reinvent ourselves, is to constantly find ourselves dancing in the moment, dancing on that edge of uncertainty and being comfortable with that, and not wanting to push against the uncertainty by creating structures, but really engaging with it and doing something that cannot be done by an algorithm.
I hear you, Prue.
Yeah,
That's very true, right?
yeah.
Um, My next question is, what is some of the new careers that millennials are looking for?
I remember about 7 years ago, Vilmi, I was called in an office and I was asked to write a job profile for a social media manager. I don't know if you remember, but I had to very quickly find context for a job that didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago. And that is the world that we're living in now, that as an organization, if you do not have a presence on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and you're not on top of the social media frenzy or fray, that you are seen to be irrelevant. And more we are seeing careers following the same path. We are seeing careers or job titles such as futurist. I mean, what does a futurist do? What does an employee experience officer do? I found job titles such as an integrator. And I call myself an architect, even though other architects may disagree. But what does a digital strategist or a connector or an enabler do? We're finding that the careers are moving away from what you studied at school, really. Remember, there used to be a time where you studied HR, you became an HR officer, and you became an HR manager, and that was your career path. I mean, we used to be called personnel managers way back in a time that I would really not like to remember. But what we're seeing is that there's this gravitation towards really transdisciplinary interaction. And it's focusing more on the skill that you bring rather than the qualification that you bring. Because now your value is derived not in what you do, your identity is embedded not in what your job title says, but by the purpose that you display and the value that you bring to an organization. So really, I foresee a time where we will move away from job titles because they're really misleading. When you apply for a position and you see a certain job title and you get into that organization and you see the great dissonance between what you're expected to do and what you thought your job title would enable you to do, you are somewhat disappointed. I'm like saying, what skill do I need for this particular project right now? I know this is quite radical for a lot of very traditional organizations, but it's really about hunting for the skill and redefining how we see scarce and critical, not as a person, but as a skill, and honing into that and saying, for this project, I need this skill. And I'm going to go into the market and look for this skill. And we may even surprise ourselves as talent and organizational specialists that skill may even not be found in somebody who studied HR. It may be found in somebody who studied marketing. It may be found in somebody who studied finance. So we are about to see a radicalism where we're building teams that are transdisciplinary. And obviously, if you want to thrive in an environment that is transdisciplinary, you need to be anchored in your core. So the core of who you are will never go away. As an industrial psychologist, that is your core, but it's about tapping into the various other spheres of the business that you're wanting to service.
Thank you, Prue. I love your radical approach and your passion for this. I think there's a lot in the world that we can change and really start looking at, that we actually had to start looking at previously, like the new job titles. It's very interesting to see where everything is going and what is already out there. I've also seen a few interesting job titles. You mentioned some of them.
Yeah, I must say, Vilmi, we as HR professionals, industrial psychologists, talent managers, organizational development specialists, whatever we choose to call ourselves, need to be cautious, because with the introduction of 4IR, our role, if we continue to just be transactional, will be easily absorbed by automation even. So I foresee a time where the HR competence will be required of every line manager, right? So that HR or talent or organizational development is not a standalone unit in any organization, but it is integrated. So now's the time for us to really reinvent ourselves and say, what skill does the business need? And how can I service the business that I'm part of right now?
From some of the things that I've read, I've also read that, how everything will be reinvented is exactly that there won't be any standalone functions, or supporting functions. Your line manager will have to have all those skills to do the things that we now see as supporting functions in businesses.
That's true, Vilmi, because can you imagine having to pay for a standalone function when that competence you can capacitate your line managers to possess that competence. And what it does is it allows you to focus on your core business. And you know that businesses that often focus on their core businesses tend to outsource their support function, and they are able to derive so much more value for stakeholders than a business that also focuses on their support functions.
And definitely, I agree with you, Prue.
Yeah.
My next question is, how do millennials want to be handled, and what types of benefits do they expect in the workplace? And then also, are these realistic expectations with the world transforming so quickly?
Well, Vilmi, as a millennial, I'm interested in three things. I'm interested in what the work is, uh, where do I fit in terms of the workforce, and where's the workplace? And the biggest thing for me and other millennials is really that flexibility and customization. So do I have flexibility in how I structure my work? Do I really need to be in the office from 8 to 5 o'clock? Or is it really about you managing my deliverable, my output? For me, in terms of workplace, is the workplace tied to a geographical location? Can my workplace be in front of my computer in my home office? Can my workplace be on the beach? That is a bit drastic, I know. But can my workplace be neutral, not tied to where you have to pay for space and a table and a telephone for me? And in terms of the profile of the workforce, when I look at benefits and when I look at incentive, do I have flexibility in terms of how I structure my package, how I structure my benefits? Because obviously, the millennial who's turning 30 and the one who's turning 40 have different priorities in terms of benefits. I'm not saying, and this is not realistic, to have 5 different reward schemes or 5 different pension contribution or 20 different contributions toward medical aid. But it's about saying, here is what I believe this skill to be worth. Structure it the best way you see fit for where you are currently. Obviously, if you're about to turn 40, you have a family, so you value certain things that the employer offers. When you're about to turn 30, you also value those things, but you value them differently. So it's about really being open and not saying that this employer, this is what we do, this is our contribution, but about being a little bit more fluid if we want to retain and engage a specific skill. Yeah. But underlying all of that, Vilmi, for millennials, remember it's about a higher self for them. It's about your employee value proposition. What is your leadership like? And what is your culture like? Is it conducive for them to work there? Are your values in sync with their values? Do they look at your organization and desire to work there? Does it seem like a place where they are able to add value? Does it seem like a place where they're able to live their purpose? And if it's not, I can promise you, you will not keep that skill for very long.
I agree with you. Being a millennial myself, I think what you're saying now is exactly true. I've also always been an employee or a person who thinks that you should rather get paid based on outcomes that you produce rather than the physical time just being at work. I think there's a lot of changes we can actually make just with some open-minded thinking.
Yeah. The core competence here, Vilmi, would be self-management. So we've always interacted with employees as if managers know best and employees need to be policed. But this generation says, tell me what I need to do, not how I need to do it, and I will deliver in the time that you have requested me to do. So if I'm more productive at 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to be changed to a desk for 8 hours because that is how work has always worked. And the employers that are going to get a greater productivity and increase in productivity are employers that tap into that and say, work when you want to work, but ensure that I have my outcome by the time that I need.
Prue, that's very insightful, and I'm very excited to share this with the rest of the world. So I've read a lot that millennials are very prone to do they job from, or they hop from a job to another job. And I want to ask you, what does their overall loyalty look like? And should employers approach millennials when it is a known fact that they might leave within 6 months?
Vilmi, the talent landscape has changed dramatically. I'm a believer in leading with the data. So I constantly review key data such as new hires, turnover, the age profile of my workforce, but I pay particular attention to those new hires that came and left in the same year, because that's where your data starts telling you a story. For me, I really use the data to be able to predict performance and to see where I'm at risk when it comes to my key talent. Gone are the days where loyalty used to be linked to a 5-year loyalty badge or 20-year loyalty certificate. Those days are gone, because employers, or not employees, employees, especially millennials now, are loyal not to the organization per se, but they're loyal to a group of individuals who are like-minded to them. So knowing this as an employer, how I approach a millennial is that I know you may leave in 6 months. I have bought your skill for a certain time period at a certain rate. So I'm going to do everything in my power to extract as much value as I can from that skill whilst I have it. I'm going to create a platform where I'm able to transfer that skill so that I can retain the skill, not the person, in my organization long after that person has walked out the doors of my organization. So it's really about having a paradigm shift and saying, I'm not looking to retain people. No, I'm looking to retain a skill. And that skill, I'm going to have it for a 6-time period. And whilst I have it, I'm going to maximize it.
Prue, I've taken a lot from your interview, and it seems like this paradigm shift has a lot to do with skills in the workplace and the skills that you as a person have. And I love that, because I think we can all really work on our skills, learn new skills. So yeah, thank you for this
Yeah.
interview. I really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited to share this on SciOpsa's YouTube channel as well, so that the rest of the world can also join into this discussion.
Yeah. Thank you, Vilmi. If there's one thing that I can really leave you with, and everyone who watched this video, is 3 things. Be agile, be adaptable, and be willing to learn. Be willing to learn how to learn. Because what you know today is not going to help you tomorrow. It's not going to help you 12 months from now. So be a constant student. Forever learn, continuously learn. And I guess that's the way that you will make yourself and continue to make yourself relevant in this new world of work.
Thank you, Prue. I will definitely take note of those 3 things. And yes, then we are excited to share this, and you must have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Vilmi. Thank you for the opportunity.